What's up, Browns fans? Spencer German here with you live from Huntington Bank Field. Anthony Moeglin on the home front. Give me 1 second.
Spencer, the man of the people.
Sorry. I know. I
Man of the
apologize.
people.
There's another person doing a hit over to my right. I don't want to be rude to anybody or
Are we?
anything.
We're the superior show that person that everyone's watching our stuff.
Anyway, appreciate you guys coming to hang out with us here for this post-game conversation. After another Browns loss, 26-8, the 49ers get the better of the Browns. Anthony, I'm sorry to say, I think we could take them out of the in the hunt graphic, my friend.
They're out of the in the hunt graphic. It's official.
Well,
Jeremy.
I will say this. You're the one always looking for a path. I guess the path is you could win the division still if everybody loses out.
I'm gonna find the path tomorrow, Jeremy, because I don't get discouraged by this bunch often, but this team, this is a tough group to watch right now.
You can always count on Megs to play around with the NBA trade machine and the ESPN playoff machine that they put out every year. By the way, my hair looks awful, and I don't know how to fix it.
Brother. I'm sorry
I'm trying,
to say
but it can't be any worse. It can't be any worse than the Cleveland Browns at this point in the season. By the way, guys, obviously we covered the Browns Roundtable. Make sure you head on over to brownsroundtable.com. I have what I think is my best post-game immediate column that went up when the game went final today. And it's all about the first thing we're going to talk about today, Megs, which there was a lot that went wrong in this game for the Browns. It feels like that's a pretty common thing week to week. But I cannot say enough about how detrimental I think those two fourth down decisions were by Kevin Stefanski. The first one, 3 minutes left in the first quarter. The 49ers had just scored. I get it. You're trying to be aggressive. You're at their 20. You know, you're trying to sort of answer a touchdown with a touchdown. I can wrap my head around that one. In the NFL in 2025, teams are going to do that. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to try to finish those drives with touchdowns. I can respect that. It still was costly because you took points off the board. You could have at least taken the field goal there, and then at least you're on the board. Maybe that changes the complexion of things. But so you took points off the board. But I at least understand that one. But the egregious one came in the third quarter with about 7 minutes left, 4th and 1 from your own 33. And not only was it you didn't convert, but it was not only was it an over-aggressive call in the first place, but it was also the call that you made. And I know, like, that's Tommy Reese's dojo now. He's the one sort of handling that, but I'm sure there was some input from Stefanski on, like, you know, what play to run here. It was a specialty sort of play because you had Harold Fannin in at quarterback, and you decide to put him under center and try to run it forward with him, and it ended disastrously with a fumble. The 49ers recover. They have a short field. 9 plays later, they're in the end zone, and the game's pretty much out of reach at that point. When you were only down 2, it was 10-8 at that point in the game. And I didn't understand it. I'm sorry. Like, I know that that's part of the NFL today. I just did not understand why that decision was made and why in that situation, I know Harold Fann's a great player, but you're not even putting the ball in either your quarterback's hands there or Quinshon Judkins' hands, who's your best offensive player, to try to convert that play. I didn't understand it, and I think ultimately that decided that. I know it's never one play, and that's the coach speak thing to say, but that decided the game because, again, 9 plays later, the 49ers score, then the game's out of reach, and you were only down 2. You had a chance to punt it, count on your defense. They didn't do it.
And that's the other thing, too. Your defense is playing so good, and that's, like, part of the conversation. Like, hey, if we go for it and we don't get it, our defense is playing so good, but you set them up so far back in their own end. Like, damn near impossible. And, like, that watching that happen, that whole sequence was like watching a car crash in slow motion because it was like they didn't get the first down, and it was like, man, they should have had it. Well, the whole series, Jeremy, was, hey, on first down they hit Jerry Jeudy on the sidelines, and he could have turned up the field and, like, got the first down. Instead, he steps out of bounds. Okay, fine. So you're second and short. Like, okay, they were running the hell out of the football, and they're like, all right, you're gonna hand it off to Quinshon, you're gonna get it. Well, second down they don't get it, and then third down, everybody in the stadium knew you're gonna run it just to move the sticks. And so did the 49ers. And by the way, like today the offensive line was like either great or horrible. Like no in the middle. It was like they were gashing for 10 yards or they were getting blown up in the backfield. And they don't get it on third. And you're like, damn it. All right, well, just punt it away. And then you see like from my perspective, you're like, oh God, you see everyone subbing in. You're like, no, please don't do it. And then they get into the huddle and then they break the huddle and there's so much confusion. Like think about the pre-snap. Everyone's kind of running around. No one knew where they were supposed to be. And you're like, call a timeout. Just like call a timeout. Use your brain here. Use your brain. And then they snap it and then they fumble it. And you're like, oh my God, like this is if you were to put the Cleveland Browns in one play call, it's this one from start to finish. That was man, that one sucked.
Yeah, I think that's, you laid out the series there. And like this has always been, I think, a thing for me when it comes to Kevin. And I want to give him some credit because I don't think going for it from your own 33 is analytically the thing that you're supposed to do. But I've oftentimes felt like sometimes he and this organization at times, like, it's too lost in the analytics to react in game to like the feel of the game. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate the fact that he was trying to sort of feel this game out, and he was like, listen, if we convert this and we can turn this into points, like maybe that sparks us, right? But at this point, you're in week 13. Like, you should know your team better than anybody. Like, this offense isn't, more often than not, even when you convert those fourth downs, you end up punting the ball anyway. Like, a few plays, you know what I mean? Like, so in this instance, it's not that you didn't have feel for, like, because he even said after the game, like, my goal is always like, I trust my guys. I'm going to put them in a spot to be successful. I'm going to have confidence in them. I can appreciate a coach leaning into that, like doing the Dan Campbell, mentality here. I appreciate that. But in this instance, it's about having feel for like your team. Yeah. And you know that your defense is your strength. You know that if you give them a short field to defend, they might stop them, but you're at least guaranteeing they're going to kick a field goal, and it's going to still be a one-possession game, but you're going to have to definitely score a touchdown then. And points are hard to come by with this offense. So yeah. I just didn't know like why you had to do it there. It was still early in the third quarter, still a one-possession, 2-point game where like a field goal puts you in front. It was just too over-aggressive for me in that moment. And when you already had a fourth down that you missed earlier in the game, I think you just punt the ball away there and sort of live to fight another day. Like again, it doesn't come down to one play here or there. Obviously, after that, you still had a muff punt by Gage Larvaday, and that set up a touchdown for the 49ers. But for as much as we talk about how much this offense has set the defense back in tough spots and had given them short fields to defend, and Kevin even highlighted this after the game, you can't make that worse, or you can't contribute to that, willingly by being like, we're going to go for it on fourth down. Like, just punt the ball. It's one thing if it's a turnover and it leads to that and the defense has to kind of do it. But it's another thing if you willingly sort of say, we're going to risk potentially not converting this year and give them a short field. To me, that's inexcusable. It honestly makes, like, in a season where you have 3 wins and we're all wondering, like, is this regime safe? Are they not safe? What's going to happen next year? Those are the types of things that can sometimes cost you your job. Like, just plain and simple. Those things, those decisions can sometimes be what decides whether or not you're still here and you keep your job.
And more so, that's more at the macro level. And I want to comment on something that you said at the micro level on that conversation. Like, when you go for it on fourth down, that's why teams are so specific about going for it near midfield or something so that they can turn a drive that would be a punt into points. Your point's exactly right. Like, if you go for it, you have to go score points when you do that because you're not going to hit every fourth down. That's why even in the one in the red area or right outside the red area, my thought was like, okay, let's say you get the first down. Then you basically have to go say, hey, we need to turn – this needs to be a touchdown drive. For that fourth down to make sense, we need to go score a touchdown. So, like, let's just say when you're backed up on your own 30 and you go for it, you could very easily throw two, have a 1-yard run and throw 2 incomplete passes and punt it right away after that. And it's like you wasted your fourth down opportunity. So it's just like that one just didn't make sense, man. And like that's the one, like you said, at the high level, when you look back at this season, it's not going to be, you got blown out here, you got blown out there. Like situationally, you made some stupid decisions, and that's going to be one of them. And that was tough, and it flipped the whole complexion of this game, which at that point, Jerm, was a very, very, very winnable football game, and your team was playing really good at the time. It just really took the wind out of their sails.
Yeah, and it's not the first time that some of his over-aggression or his play calling in certain situations. Again, I know he's given up the play calling overall, but that's cost the Browns this season a game. I think back to the Vikings game in London, there was a couple fourth down calls in that game, and some other situational things. Not having Quinshon Judkins on the field near the goal line at the end of the half, like there was in the hurry up offense, like there was other moments throughout the season where you've questioned things that Stefanski has done that probably cost the Browns a game. And it happened again today. And so, again, yes, it's one thing if your team just stinks and you're losing and the ownership is still trying to sort of express confidence in you to keep you around. But when you're becoming part of the reason you lose on Sundays, that's problematic. And that's why I continue to go back to, I don't know what's going to happen with these guys, but today did not help their cause as they lose another game, still only had 3 wins on the season. and you got 5 to go, and it's just been a bad year all around. So, I don't know a big picture what this means, but I don't think today helped that cause at all when you have those two 4th down plays that don't happen, and especially the one from the 33, which I think was exceptionally egregious of the two. So,
no, it was dumb, man. It was stupid, and like I've been very open about, like, I like Kevin Stefanski as a head coach, and I want him to continue to be there. But like, you do stuff like that, and you know what that tells me, Germ, is that like even he's starting to feel it, and he's pressing, because if he was comfortable, that was so not a Kevin Stefanski move to go for it. Like, that tells me that he's starting to feel the heat of like, oh, we're playing good football. We can go win this football game. We're going to go for it on this 4th down, backed up in our own territory, and just to try to spark some stuff and go push it into the end zone. Like, that is an emotional decision. That is not a Kevin Stefanski move. And that, to me, is the more concerning part. Is like, he's starting to feel it, and he's changing his identity, which is a much bigger problem, in my opinion.
It obviously didn't help that there was more injuries on the offensive line. Jack Conklin left this game with a concussion. No word yet on whether or not he'll be obviously available next season. He's going to have to go through the protocol. We'll see what happens with that. There was also a very weird situation with Wyatt Teller and Tevin Jenkins, who were rotating throughout the game. And so there's 2 parts to this, because Teller was walking out of the locker room with a boot on. So I want to say that up front. So he did, at some point in this game, he did seem to suffer an injury of some sort where he had to leave in a boot. But that was not the reason he was rotating with Tevin Jenkins, from what Kevin Stefanski said after the game, which was basically like they wanted to get his answer was they wanted to get a look at Tevin. They wanted to see what they had there. A guy who they signed this offseason as like an extra guard, a veteran guard. And today they decided to prioritize, we're gonna rotate him in and see what it looks like. And that was part of the plan from the beginning. And so that's pretty telling and interesting, because listen, Wyatt Teller, by all metrics, hasn't necessarily had a great season. I've wondered, he's in the last year of his deal. I've wondered about his future, but I've also said, like, remaking your entire offensive line in one off season is a tall task. So I don't know like how you do that, especially like if Joe Bitonio retires. The only guy really set to come back right now is, in terms of like being under contract, is DeJuan, like original starters, is DeJuan Jones, and he's going to be coming off another injury. So there's a lot there. But that's another telling situation about the state of things right now. It is an ominous sign for like what's going to happen with this offensive line this offseason. Ethan Posick also got hurt in this game at one point. He did come back eventually, but he was out for a little bit. Luke Whippler comes in. And so there's a lot of changing parts and pieces, which I'm sure didn't help matters up front in the trenches, especially when you're trying to convert certain plays and things. But that's another thing that we kind of add to the list here. It's been ongoing. We know this offensive line has been bad, but it's another thing that we now, that comes to the forefront in terms of what this team is dealing with, and something that's a huge weakness for them and continues to be.
Yeah, and the Teller one was, it like caught everyone's attention because this was his 100th start, and they even announced it like in this intro, like from Virginia Tech, and his 100th career.
And it looked like, by the way, they were probably they kind of just started him because it was his 100th start, and so they were like, we're gonna throw you the bone here, but I wonder if it wasn't his 100th start, if he even would have been starting. That's the other part of this. So I guess my overall thing I was going to try to say was, it's crazy how quickly things deteriorated on this offensive line. Because 2 years ago, we were talking about this group as like, oh, you can't go wrong with this group. Like, Wyatt Teller's great. He's going to Pro Bowls. And, Ethan Posick, he might not be a Pro Bowler, but he's a solid center. And you had Jack Conklin was kind of locked in, and Joel was Joel. And the only spot that was really a question was the left tackle. And now it's just across the board. You're asking yourself, like, what is this thing going to look like next year? Who's going to be here? And how do the Browns fix that offensive line? Maybe Tevin Jenkins is part of their plans, and that's why they want to get a look at him.
And you look at it even further down the line, like Zach Zinter, you drafted to kind of be Joel Bitonio's replacement. He's been a healthy scratch every single game this year.
Except one. He was active one game. That was it.
Which, that's an issue. And you took Jed Wills instead of Tristan Wirfs, and who's become a perennial All-Pro guy. And
Jed Wills isn't in the league this year. He took a year off.
It's like, man, it's got to be a clean sweep. And all right, here you go. Here's positive Megs again. Like the positive to this.
I don't know if it has to be a clean sweep, but that's
you can't roll this group back out, man.
That is difficult to rebuild an offensive line in one off season, like the entire thing. And then like we're sitting here, and this is where the coach thing comes back into play. Like the job security thing comes back into play because it's like if you rebuild an offensive line and it's a bunch of new pieces and parts, and I don't know like what free agency looks like at those positions right now, but you're not usually getting like if teams have good linemen, they're usually retaining them. Like you're not getting like great guys in free agency most of the time, at least not today, because the offensive line plays worse than ever. And so if you have a bunch of young guys up front, like okay, cool, but like that's going to be some growing pains there. You know what I mean? Like you're rebuilding the whole thing. So what does that mean for like job security? Like you're going to keep these guys around to have another 3, 4, 5 win season because you have to go through more growing pains. Like it all just kind of comes back to the same thing, which is kind of ironic. But yeah, like the offensive line's a problem for sure.
It's a huge problem. And I would say this, like if there's one group that's done it or that did it successfully, it's the Chicago Bears, where they got a couple young guys in and then replaced some others with veteran guys. Like they had a full clean sweep new unit coming into this year, and it's going well for them. But your point is right. Like there are not good linemen. Good linemen don't leave buildings, right? Where it's like, hey, if you have a good player who's in his prime or just maybe past his prime, like he's not leaving that building. The only good ones you're going to get are the good ones that their team feels are on the back nine of their career. Maybe you squeeze one good year out of them, but like, you know, seeing the decline of this offensive line is like similar to how running backs typically decline, similar to how like Nick Chubb kind of declines, where they are like so good, and there isn't a gradual regress. It is so good, cliff, and fall straight off, and that's what we're seeing with this group. They are horrible. They are very, very, very bad. There's no time to throw. They got it going today a little bit in the run game, but like watch the fourth down. Watch the first fourth down at the 20-yard line. Like I think it was Jenkins. He fires out low like it's a tush push, and he literally the defensive lineman just like took him, swam him, threw him down, and stopped the fourth down in record time. I don't think there's ever been a fourth down blown up quicker than that one. It was like he was in the backfield taking the handoff. And you're like, this play never even had a fighter's chance because it's this group up front's horrific, man.
And that's the other thing. Like we talked about the fourth down plays and the decision to go for them. The first one got completely blown up by a safety. One of the 49ers safeties came like racing through the hole and just ate Quinshawn alive in the backfield. But then even if Fannin had held on to the snap, I don't think he was getting it anyway. Because I'm pretty like I saw like 3 guys kind of like burst through, and that's why they were able to get to the fumble so quickly because they were already through the line. Like so again, it's like so there's that part of the equation too when we talk about that play specifically.
But it's also funny too, Jerm, because I'm saying this and I'm going to go tongue in cheek here because I mean, well, I guess it did come down. Well, Quinshawn had 23 carries for 91 yards. So that's 4 yards a pop right on the money. They have 31 carries for 138. If you told me today they were going to get 4.5 yards a pop, I'm saying they're winning the football game. Like that is a good number. They did run it well, but when they didn't, in the key situations, when the 49ers, you know, had to make a play, and it was either it was those gotta have it moments. The 49ers made all the plays and made our line look horrible, and it's just tough.
They outgained the 49ers on the ground, 138-91. They outgained them for the game, 253-252, and they still lost the game. Like,
oh my gosh, dude!
But this has been the story all season, right? Like
bad teams. I wrote this after the game. Bad teams do bad things in football games. Bad teams have bad habits. Like this, unfortunately, is a bad team, and that leads me to like I'll say it again. I've not been on the fire Kevin train, but like at some point you have to. Your culture is soured, right? And you see the effects of this. Bubba Ventrone, and I hate saying this, but I'm going to. He should have been fired like a year ago, at the beginning of the year, months ago, weeks ago, and he hasn't been. And now the special teams has largely cost you 2 football games, right? We talked about fourth downs. We haven't even talked about teams at this point. It led to 14 straight points. Like it's like, oh my word! Like come on! Like that's bad stuff that keeps continuing to happen.
Well, what's frustrating about that too is. Like 1 week special teams is great. Like last week you had the great punt return from Gage Larvidan, and you're like, oh yeah, this is what you need. And then like the next week it just reverts back to some sort of ugliness, and you're giving up a big punt return yourself, or you're muffing a punt, or you're missing a field goal. Now that hasn't happened for a while. I should not bring Andre Schmidt into this at all. He didn't even kick any kicks today. He had no kick attempts today. He's actually been great since the Bengals game. So that's the one thing they got figured out, I guess. But yeah, like I feel bad for Bubba because I do think Bubba is a hell of a coach and a person overall, but he's just not getting the results in the field. And as we know, it's a results-based business, and that comes back to everybody. Like and you said it, like bad football teams do bad things. They have bad habits. That's the thing I've been saying and banging the drum on for weeks. Because Megs, how many people tried to tell me, oh, well, a couple plays go differently here or there, and like you're talking about a team that's like 5-5, like whatever. And I'm like, dude, yeah, I get what you're saying, but like that's the difference between a good team and a bad team. A good team, they make their own luck to a degree. Those things go their way, and bad teams they don't. Bad teams muff punts. Bad teams throw interceptions. Bad teams fumble snaps on 4th down when you're trying to convert on your own 33 or go for it on 4th down in that situation. Don't convert it because you feel like you're desperate for points. Like it's all of those things added up together to give you what you have right now, which is a bad football team that's 3-9.
Yeah, and like the truth of the matter is, and you were basically talking about me in that little sentence there. So
I
wasn't
trying. It wasn't just you, Megs. It wasn't just you. I wasn't trying to call you out.
I can't take that all the credit, but it's true. Like I've been banging that drum for anybody who wants to listen to me. But I call it. I call it Steelers voodoo. When you watch the Steelers play and everything just seems to go their way, it's because they're well coached. Like stuff happens to them because they're in the right spots at the right times, doing the right things. And guess what? The bad things don't happen to them because they don't muff punts. They don't go for it. Maybe you want Mike Tomlin to go for it more on 4th downs, but he doesn't, and he sticks to it. And that's just who he is. And what does that result in? It results in one possession games at the end of a game, or hey, they're stealing possessions from a Bills team, which is currently happening right now, who fumbles the ball on a run. Like stuff like that happens to good teams because they're put in good spots. And the Browns just aren't that right now. And today was the officially they're going to go back-to-back losing seasons after losing their 9th game today. Yeah. So like, dang, that's not good. The one I heard today made me want to throw up. They haven't won 2 straight games since 2023. End of 2023. Had Joe Flacco not come and saved that year, they haven't won back-to-back games. Like they're just not a good football team, and it's hard.
Well, they got the Titans. There. Yeah. Well, when they got the Titans next week, which is a game I think I'll just say it now. Like I don't know what my score prediction is going to be yet, but I'm going to predict them to win. And so maybe they only have so many opportunities left to win back-to-back games. They're only going to have so many games that feel like a chance to win a game. But yeah, like they're a bad football team. We've known that about them. It all comes down to like how they finish out the year and then what decisions are made in the offseason. But yeah, I saw the comment here. We talked a ton about that.
I think this is my dad's in the other room. I think this is his burner because we were just having this exact conversation. So if this is my dad's, thanks, Dad, for popping in.
Well, I was going to say, like we just had this conversation at the very beginning of the show. So if you get a chance to go back and listen, please do. We vetted that for about 15 minutes here to start things off. With a couple other things I want to get to. I think we obviously have to talk about Shedeur. Somehow we made it 23 minutes without talking about him. Who's it's the topic du jour every single week for the Browns. Listen, I thought Shedeur played a pretty efficient and effective game overall. He only had 149 yards passing. I know people point at that and say, "What did he do?" He only had a couple big plays today, but like 16 of 25 which is 64 completion percentage. Like that's creeped up each week. He's gotten a little bit better in terms of like his efficiency. 150 yards, and he had the one touchdown pass to Harold Fandon, which, by the way, that play was an awesome play design and really well executed by Shedeur to sort of like look things off and then get the ball to Harold. He was looking at Jerry. I believe on that play, the 49ers were in their classic sort of cover 3 that they like to run, and Jerry ran a post, and he was the only deep right on that side of the field. He took a safety and a corner with him, and then basically Fandon just replaced him. He did like an out and up and replaced him, and he was wide open. Great play, awesome. Great finish, great job by Harold Fandon to finish the play for the touchdown. I was actually thinking about texting you at that point and saying, "Hey, I said 100 yards and a touchdown, didn't I? I thought he was going to get there, but obviously he didn't end up getting close." But yeah, like there were some really positive moments once again for Shedeur. Obviously, listen, I know what's going to happen here. We're going to get the divisive crowd of like, he was great, and then they're going to get the divisive crowd who's like, he didn't really do all that much. What are we talking about here? I think you saw once again Shedeur show that he had made some progress and run an efficient offense, and I think you still continue to see that the offense has more upside with him out there, and it's more productive with him out there, and that there's some plays he probably wants back. Like, you know, he almost took a safety in the end zone at one point. There was a couple sacks where he drifted a little bit more than probably he wanted to, or he didn't see a guy open up in time, and he probably should have got rid of the football or thrown it to a guy, and he just didn't see him. So there was some of that. That's rookie growing pains that's going to happen. But I think overall, like, you still saw that the offense just has more upside of potential with Shedeur in it than anybody else that could possibly play quarterback for this team the rest of the season. And because of that, Kevin Stefanski did say after the game he's sticking with Shedeur Sanders.
Germ, I'm going to go, like, he played good. I thought at halftime, he was 8 for 10 for 96 yards, maybe 8 for 11,
yeah.
8 for 10 or 8 for 11 for 96 yards and a touchdown. And the Browns were down 10-8, which don't even get me freaking started about that. One drive at the end of the half and two, that catch at the end of the half that Kittle had, whatever. But they're down 10-8.
Dude, Kittle's incredible, by the way. He's special.
That just wasn't a catch. If you're going to rule that a catch, it was an interception. It was not. Kittle never had the football.
I felt like he caught it, but that's just me.
Yeah, Ronnie had the ball. It was correct. Anyway, I'm not going to go sidetrack there. I've sidetracked enough. Shedeur, I thought, was actually really good in the first half. What did I said before the game, like, this is going to be a day where you have to protect the football. He did such a good job of, like, the ball was never in danger at all in the first half. That throw to Harold was awesome. He was taking his checkdowns. I thought Tommy even set him up in really good shape. They threw 2 or 3 screens, got a couple chunk plays. This was going to be a possession-style game, and he was doing exactly what he needed to do. I was so excited for him in that first half. And then the second half comes out, and he comes out, they punt, and then the 49ers punt, and then the Browns have their 4th down fumble, which leads to a field goal, right? Defense settles up and goes field goal. Browns go for it again, don't convert. All right, I'm all messed up. Yeah, fumble. That leads to a touchdown, and then they punt it, and then he was fighting this uphill battle in the second half that nobody was going to be successful there. I'm getting clowned in here by John in the comments. I'm not pulling it up, but like he played good football, and like that's the end of the story. If you disagree, argue with your mom, because that he played a good game today.
Yeah, listen, I think there's certainly things that were more positive steps for him, and I've talked about it. Like, that's the biggest thing he has to do. Each week, you just want to see him get gradually better. I think you saw a guy that did get gradually better today, especially in that first half. Second half was ugly. Also got to remember, they only had 9 possessions today. One of those they fumbled away on the muff punt. They didn't get that possession, and it went to the 49ers, and then they scored a touchdown. There was the one that ended obviously on downs at the 33 on the 4th down play, which if they convert that, maybe that goes on to be a bigger drive when he finishes with more yards passing and things like that. So there's some other factors in here too. Offensive line and all the interchanging parts that were there and what that sort of caused, like the problems that might have caused for Shedeur today on the field as well. But yeah, I think overall, like, I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to do what some people might do and say, oh, he was awesome. Like, I think across the board, all the quarterback play we've seen this year has been in some range of like absolutely god awful and like good. Yeah. And I think today was one of those days where you could say like, okay, Shedeur played good, but there's still a lot of things that he has to continue to work on and get better. And that's the point, right? That's the point of him playing right now. Is each week you want to see that gradual progress. And the things that stood out to me again, I think, are the offense still showed more upside with him. He got better. There was more him learning as the live bullets are flying out there on the field. And if you're seeing that constant progression and progress from him, I got no problem with him continuing to start. And it sounds like that's what the Browns are going to do. He'll start next week against the Titans, as I said.
Germ, that place would have exploded if he hit Judy on that first drive.
I forgot to bring that up. I was going to say that he missed it by a couple yards. But I actually thought, though, like his processing on that play was good. Like, he went through some of his progressions. He sees Jerry come open, and then he delivers a ball down the middle of the field. And it was like, if he had just connected on it. You're right. Like, you take a lead in the game if you hit on that, and it starts the game off with a bang. Like, and then I think people are sitting here, and they're like, I mean, that would have been he would have been over 200 yards if he connects on that. Like, then people are sitting here, and they're like, oh, man, the difference between that play and not hitting that play is like, people would be sitting here saying Shedeur was phenomenal, best quarterback play we've seen all year. And instead we can kind of just say, okay, it was good, but there was progress, and that's what matters here for the Browns.
Spencer, look at that sequence too, right? If he hits Jerry, that's likely, all right, I'm not going to say a touchdown. Let's say a 60-yard gain.
It might have been, though, but yeah.
The very next play, they punt it to Sky Moore, and he takes it 70 yards back, and they end up punching it in. Like, that's this type of stuff that happens, like in a game where you talk about, like, hey, it's never one play. That's a sequence right there. That's a 2-play, 3-play sequence that changed the football game. Was the wind at his back on that throw? Because it looked like it just kept.
I mean, it was a 7-point swing, essentially, because it went from 0 to could have been a touchdown for you. Really, I guess it was a 14-point swing because it was 7. It could have been 7 for you. Ends up being 7 for them. 14-point swing. So yeah, you're right.
Was the wind at their back, Germ, going that way at that throw?
I think it was actually in their face.
Because it just looked like the ball, was like a paper airplane. Where
the wind is weird here. You know that. So
anyway, it's just one of those.
Yeah.
I thought Shedeur was good, and John, if you disagree with me, go argue with a wall because that he played good today.
This is another one of those things though where I'm like, do we have to argue over this? Like, why can't it just be, hey, Shedeur looked a little bit better today? Like, why does it have to be, man? Stop lying about Shedeur's performance. Like, guys, has he looked better than Dillon Gabriel? I think so.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe I'm just an idiot. I don't know. I'm not like a scout, but I felt like he was better today. So.
Germ,
maybe I'm wrong, but why can't people just get excited about the idea that like he's making progress? That's my point.
The one that was really good to me, actually, and this is funny, people may disagree with this, but it was the throw to Isaiah Bond over the middle that got deflected in the pocket. Like that pocket, Bond ended up catching. I
thought that was getting picked.
That pocket condensed so much, and typical Shedeur, usually Shedeur is backed out of that thing and floating around. He's stuck in there, and it was like, all right, I'm standing in there because my guy's coming. I gotta wait. He waited as long as he possibly could, and he did get away with one. But that tells me that hey, he's kicking that habit of I just gotta hit the eject button and get out. He's gonna stick in there and try to make a big play. I thought that actually stood out to me. I was like, oh, he's making progress here. He got lucky with the result, but the process is starting to improve.
Well, and I think we've seen steady progress in that regard too. Like these last 2 weeks, he's done that less and less. And he did get a little lucky on that, but I thought I agree with you. Like he stood in the pocket. Last thing I wanted to talk about, there was a lot said after the game about a particular player of the 49ers, Jauan Jennings, who was already caught in a bit of a situation from Monday Night Football because he was punched in the nuts. I'll just say bluntly against the Panthers. And today, maybe we're starting to realize why that happened because it sounds like he was really jawing with a lot of the Browns players, saying some things that they didn't really appreciate. And particularly, he was saying some stuff during Malik Collins, who got hurt in this game, left with what they said was a knee injury. Kevin Stefanski later said, I want to make sure I get this right. I believe he said it was a quad injury. Yes, he said it was a quad injury from Malik Collins, not a knee. So maybe that means it's less ominous. But the lot said in the locker room and in the post-game press conferences about Jauan Jennings and kind of what was going on there. I think it played out in real time. There was some sort of pushing and shoving going on as well. I'll play this clip here for us, but this was Miles talking about what kind of happened in that situation.
Well, I can't. I can't speak for how he was raised, but if you have nothing good to say, don't say something to somebody. So, he had a lot to say that was demeaning and disparaging towards some of our players, and I was just trying to separate everybody. And I tried to go up and ask for what the problem was, and then he started coming at me. And some guys just roll like that. I don't feel like that belongs in the game. But hey, if that works for him and them, then more power to him. But I'm just trying to keep my guys focused on the game and not worried about stuff outside of it, because we're focused on what's on the field.
So none of that had anything to do with Malik, how Malik got hurt or anything like that?
No, he was just yapping.
So I guess the good news is the Browns didn't really retaliate in any way, and Miles, seemed to sort of be playing referee there and making sure his guys stayed out of it. But I don't know what was said, but it was enough to bring some pretty inflammatory comments Jauan Jennings' way in the locker room. I'll say that. Go
find Shelby. We're not going to say it on this show. We didn't catch Shelby. Shelby doesn't talk to the media.
He called him Shelby Harris called Jauan Jennings a 3-letter word. I'll say that. It's actually here. I'll do you even better. He called him a 3-letter word that also Lane Kiffin was apparently called this week by a columnist. So if you know that story, you'll know what we're talking about. But just go find the Shelby Harris clip. I actually retweeted it at Spencito _ from Cameron Justice. So there you go.
Am I? Well, I was going to go on.
Do you know that Lane Kiffin story, by the way?
Oh, I know that Lane. What would you have done if you got approached by somebody? Let's just say I get approached by, let's say, Bubba Ventrone after what I said tonight. Do I have to fight him?
If it was me, I would have just said, I mean, are you staying at Ole Miss or not? And if he didn't give an answer, I'd say, well, then I guess my column was right. That's what I would say.
And turns out after the news today, the guy was right. So
leave it to us to get a Lane Kiffin reference at some point in the show. So there you go.
I mean, hey, come. Germ's going to come join me on the Ohio State platform here. We're going to talk Lane Kiffin later because
I was going to make a joke.
A lot happened in college football today.
I was going to make a joke about that, but I want to bite my tongue because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. So
anyway, Shelby Harris was talking in the locker room.
Apparently, whatever he said was pretty bad and set the guys off. So I thought that was an interesting sort of side story.
You know what was cool, Jerm? You know what was cool in that scenario, though? I forgot that Malik Collins played for the 49ers. And I don't know if you saw this, but you can see it on TV. Like outside of Jawan Jennings, every other player came up and like patted him on the back or on the helmet or something. It was as much. Hopefully, it's not something too serious. But anytime the cart comes out and it's non-contact, he was on the ground like shaking his head. It was really cool to see some of his old teammates and friends, jumping in with him on the ground.
You got to be a bummer if it's a long-term thing for him.
Hey, he's playing good, man. He's playing good. And even, you know what's cool? Like even Shelby. Like Shelby's a veteran in this league. He came to Cleveland to try to win, and then Cleveland was kind of all bought in on winning, and they haven't done it. And he stayed here. And even at this point, like he's still playing really hard, and these guys are still continuing to play hard. I know that's certainly not the bar. And if you're jumping into the show and you think I'm giving credence to the coaching staff, go to the top of the show. I got off a little bit there, but like it is cool to see those guys still continuing to fight and continuing to play in a season that's pretty much in the drain.
Yeah, no doubt.
And one last thing before we get out of here, you know what even pisses me off?
No, Megs, they're not in the hunt. They're out.
Dude, no, I know they're out of the hunt. They'll be back in the hunt tomorrow. I promise. I'll find a pathway tomorrow. This division sucks, man. If they would just won one or two more games, you're like a game out of the division, right? Like, oh my gosh, like this is the year that you didn't want it. They were never going to be a Super Bowl contender, but you could have snuck into the playoffs and had at least a little bit of fun. Instead, we're just doing this doom and gloom bummer thing again, which just freaking sucks, man. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick and tired of it.
Well, I can't feel my toes, so I'm going to wrap this thing up. Head on over again to brownsroundtable.com. My post-game column went up right as the game sort of went final there. I guess I think it's my best one of the year, talking about those fourth down calls. We'll have some more for you over there post-game as well, on some things that are said, quotes, all those different things. So stay tuned for that. And as always, check out our Browns Roundtable YouTube channel, where most of you are watching this right now as well. We got our post-game press conferences up there. I know Quinshon Judkins is one of them. Miles, Shador, Kevin. And we have all that stuff for you throughout the week as well as more conversations like this. So appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Hopefully you got to stay a lot warmer than I did. And make sure you keep on following along, as always, with all things Cleveland Browns with Cleveland Browns Roundtable.